Hi, my name is Debbie, and I'm currently tapering off of clonazepam. This is my second video. For those of you that have not seen my first video, it's called Benzo Withdrawal Controlling Your Thoughts. And in that video, I explained how I found my way to the fifth ring of benzo withdrawal hell, and how I'm currently tapering. So if you're interested in that, you can go see it on my first video. I'm not going to get into it in this video. Also, in my last video, I said that my second video was going to be about tapering, but unfortunately, I had an exceedingly bad day a few days ago. So maybe fortunately for you guys, it will be good or helpful, because it's from that experience that I decided to go ahead and make this video instead, um, because I thought it might be more helpful because I've had some comments from some people that are really struggling. So again, I'm having benzo brain all the time, so I'll be referring to my notes over here a few times. So, like everything in benzo withdrawal, there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. There's no way to predict if you're going to have a good day or a bad day. So, for me, it's like when I have a good day, it's like a gift because for me, it's kind of like my body reminding me that, hey, even though you think that you're never going to get through this and you're never going to heal, you're damaged forever, we just want to remind you that we, the body, actually remember what normal feels like. And this is just kind of a taste of it. So, again, those are a gift. It's like coming up for air from, this whole ordeal. And then you turn around and out of the blue, you have an excruciatingly bad day. So, um, first off, in the beginning, especially when I was really struggling, or I was having a really bad day, I would always fight really hard against it. And part of that is because that's just kind of the person that I've always been. I've always been a fixer, a doer. Um, I've always just used my willpower to get through things. And so, in a way, I thought, well, that's, just how I'm going to have to get through this. And so, again, when I was having a really bad day, what I noticed is that I would tense up and I'd be clenching my jaws and my muscles in my neck and back would be super tight, and again, that was kind of my way of going, I'm just going to power my way through this. But as I started to learn more about the mind body connection, which I talked about in my first video, I realized that by doing that, I was actually making it worse because again, when you're straining and you're struggling, all you're doing is releasing bad chemicals into your body, and that's just actually making it all worse. So, as weird as it sounds, I try to just lean into the withdrawal symptoms, in the bad days or relax into it. I just become really present. Again, something I talked about in my first video, and really aware of what my body's doing. So, I will consciously relax my jaw. I will consciously relax my body. I might start down with my toes and work my way all the way up to the top of my head. I will become very, very conscious of my breathing because it's super normal, when you're scared, or you're stressed, to start holding your breath. And so I become very conscious of my breathing. Early on, I learned a really great breathing technique, which is called the 4-7-8, which is basically you breathe in for the count of 4, you hold for the count of 7, and then you breathe out for the count of 8. And you do that 3 or 4 times, and that helps a lot. So, again, I just really try to be conscious of what's going on in my body, when I'm having bad withdrawal or bad days. So, what do I do when I'm having one of those days where I just want to curl into a fetal position and lay on my bed or on the floor and either think about how I want to die or being afraid that I'm going to die? So, one of the things that I purchased early on, and all the stuff I'm going to show you is seriously the single best investment I have made in this process. So one is a Kindle. You can get these on Amazon for like 45, 50 bucks. Um, I have earphones. You can get them at the dollar store. Mine are a little bit better because it does make a difference when they're a little bit better. And I have these handy dandy eye kind of things to block out light. Mine says Superman because we are superheroes going through what we're going through. So, what I do when I'm having a really tough time, you know, we can't escape our body. Um, we can't go on vacation. I mean, there's just no break from it, and it can just be so relentless. And so, for me, the only way that I can possibly escape it is through my mind. So, I lay down, I get super comfortable, I put my eye covers on, I get my Kindle out, and I find some music, which I will add to my playlist, by the way, on my channel. Usually something really relaxing, anxiety music. If you just search anxiety music, astral music, angel music, um, I mean, there's just a ton of it out there. You'll find what is most peaceful to you. And I put that on, not super loud, but enough so that I have some background. Um, and then I do one of three things. Number one, I I think about a place that I've been to in the past that was extremely peaceful for me. Um, I used to live in Hawaii briefly, and so there was a beach that I always went to. I went camping there quite a bit, and I would get up early in the morning with my coffee, and I would go sit on this kind of fallen log on the beach, and I would watch the sunrise. And that was very, very peaceful for me. And so I will lay there and I will visualize that, but I will become very, very detailed in that visualization. I will listen to the sound of the waves. I will look around me and I will try to remember every single thing that I remember seeing on that beach. I will look at the tree stump that I'm sitting on, and then I will visualize the sun coming up and the smells and the sounds and the taste of my coffee. Um, and that is very, very helpful for me. It's very, very calming. It's kind of like taking a mini vacation. So that's one that I use the most. There are a couple others, but that's the one I use the most and the one I wanted to use as an example. Um, Number two, I go to a memory or um, to people that I especially love. So for me, when I was growing up, I would spend summers on my grandparents' farm. And I loved my grandparents intensely. They raised me the first few years of my life, and I was always very, very close to them. Um, and so I visualized driving up to their farm in North Dakota and what that road looked like. And it was a long dirt road up to their farm. And then I visualized what the garage looked like and the house and their yard and actually walking in the door, the screen door, and what it sounded like when it slams, and walking into the kitchen and looking around the kitchen and trying to take in everything that I can remember what it looked like. And then I walk into their living room, and there's my grandma sitting on her couch, and my grandpa sitting in his old wooden rocking chair. And then I go to them and I hug them and I talk to them and I tell them how I'm feeling. Sometimes I'll lay my head in my grandma's lap, um, and I'll let her stroke my hair. Um, Sometimes I'll just go over some of the better memories I had with my grandparents, how my grandma and I used to laugh sometimes until we cried, how I used to sit in my grandpa's lap when I was a little girl. And I can actually, in my visualization, feel the rocking chair actually moving. It's awesome. And so that one works really well for me as well. And part of the reason that it works is because it brings up a lot of gratitude in my heart for them and those memories, and it brings up a lot of love. And I am a firm believer that love heals all. And again, just like I talked about in my first video, that gratitude and that love, just imagine the massive amount of chemicals that's being released into your body when you're feeling those emotions. So that is very, very helpful to me. Even on my good days, because again, in my first video, I said that I meditate once a day, sometimes twice a day. I almost always go visit my grandparents and their farm before I get into any other kind of meditation. And then the third thing that I do, and I do this religiously every single day, and I try very hard to do it twice a day, is again what I talked about in my first video, specifically Dr. Mark Hamilton. And in that first video, I shared a link in the comment section, and I'll go ahead and share it again because he talks about the mind body connection, the power of healing our body through our thoughts and through visualization. And he talks very specifically about creating what I call, and he's called a mind movie. And again, explains all the research. I'm not going to get into it again in this video. Again, you can go watch that first video or you can watch his video. Um, but again, because the mind doesn't know the difference between what's going on out there and what's going on in here, um, you create this visualization. And so I'm going to share what my mind movie is. And again, as goofy as it sounds, if you watch his video, it'll make perfect sense. And I've gotten to the point where I actually really enjoy doing this now. And I swear that it's helping. So, when I was growing up, The Wizard of Oz was one of my favorite movies. So, what my mind movie consists of is I'm standing inside my head. And in my head, it's all black and white. And in the sky, there's kind of like this big swirling cloud, almost like a hurricane. And to me, that kind of represents dizziness because I have a lot of problems with dizziness, especially since I switched over to a new brand. Um, and all around me is just nothing but fields of flowers. And those flowers represent my neurons and receptors, but they're all kind of drooped over. And then right in front of me is this dry riverbed that represents the GABA and the other hormones and chemicals that have been um, stopped basically from these benzos. And then standing over next to me is the Wicked Witch, except in my mind movie, she's not green, she's blue because that's the color of my pills. Um, and of course, she's proclaiming that this is now her land and she owns it and I have no power. Um, and I proceed to have a conversation with her. I'm not going to get into detail about that. But it's a pretty firm conversation about how it's not and how I'm taking it back. And then, just like in The Wizard of Oz, Glinda, the Good Witch, appears in her beautiful opulescent bubble, and she comes and she lands, and she comes out of her bubble, and she proceeds to tell the Clonopin witch that she only won this land through deceit, and she is here to lift the curse and free the land of Debbie um, from the Benzos. So the first thing she does is she waves her wand in the sky, and it immediately makes that swirling black cloud dissipate. And then this beautiful blue sky appears. And then she takes her wand and she touches the dry riverbed, and all of a sudden, the GABA, the water, the stream starts flowing, and it's the most beautiful colored water that you've ever seen. And then she takes her wand, brushes it through that water, and goes up into the air. And then all of that water goes up into the sky, and it starts to fall as raindrops on all of these sad looking flowers. And as soon as those drops, the water, i.e., GABA, touches those flowers, everywhere turns into vibrant, beautiful colors. And then the flowers just open up and bloom. And out of those blooming flowers comes these little receptors. Because again, remember, these benzos down regulate those receptors. So all these receptors come up. And then the GABA that's coming down as rain goes right into these receptors. And the flowers, neurons, are are just soaking up all of this GABA, and it's going down into their stems, and then it's going down into my entire body, and it's healing me. And then of course I look over to the Clonopin witch, and those drops are falling on her, and just like in the movie, she slowly is dissolving into nothing. And then I proceed to just be incredibly grateful, and I take in the wonderful scenery. And so that's my mind movie. And I rehearse that over and over and over and over. And again, I swear that at least for my dizziness, it's made a huge difference. I would say that I, I have very little dizziness now. So again, those are the things that I do because it seems to be the only escape from the body. Um, Going into the mind. So, another thing that I just want to mention is that, again, it goes back to our thoughts and our perspective. And, for a long time, I felt like my body was my enemy. And it's not. Our bodies are incredibly amazing. The amount of things that they do every single second just to keep us alive is mind boggling. And so now I have chosen to think of my body as this giant community that has 50 trillion cells in it. 50 trillion cells. And I think of them now as soldiers. And they are soldiers in my army, and they are working for me to get me back to health. So, thank you again for watching my video. I hope that it's been helpful. Again, please watch my first video if you haven't yet. And I wish you health, joy, peace, love, and healing. And remember, be bigger than your body. Thank you.